Welcome to the In Love with PMDD podcast. I am your host, Dr. Rose, your PMDD relationship psychotraumatologist, and I help you stop the monthly PMDD breakups. PMDD is premenstrual dysphoric disorder. It is in approximately 1 in 5 women, and it makes you want to break up with your partner approximately 1 to 2 weeks before your period every single month. So as someone who has suffered with PMDD for over 18 years, I dedicated my doctorate practice to helping partners navigate those monthly PMDD breakups with everything from attachment styles, triggers, sensitivity to noise, sensitivity to touch, all of the things that you really struggle with when you're in PMDD. And I also dedicated my dissertation to a phenomenological study of the relationship experiences of partners of individuals who suffer with premenstrual dysphoric disorder. So I'm not just here to help the sufferer, the one who is suffering with PMDD. I am here for the partners as well. So if you need those private sessions, make sure you go to inlovewithpmdd.com and get those tools. So let's get into this week's PMDD trauma transformational tools that is going to help you stop the monthly breakups and stop the suffering and stress in your PMDD relationship. Let's get into it. Today, I want to talk to you about some of the common ways that you feel that your partner is making your PMDD symptoms worse. And I'm going to go over this because I really want you to understand how common it is and how cyclical it is for you to blame your PMDD partner for your symptoms, for making your PMDD worse. For some of you, you even actually think that your partner causes your PMDD every single month, that miraculously you would not have PMDD if you did not have your partner, if you were just single. And I remember earlier in my journey, I remember really associating my PMDD symptoms with my ex-partners, so much to the fact that I was disillusioned enough to believe that the only time that I experienced PMDD symptoms was when I was with, these partners. And as someone who has suffered with PMDD for over 18 years now, I can tell you that that's not the truth. What I can tell you is that it's a possibility that you're in relationships currently and in the past that have exacerbated your symptoms, that have made them worse. But a partner cannot cause your PMDD. And I'm going to repeat that because I think that common misconception is what leads to a lot of the breakups, is that the partner is causing your PMDD. Your partner cannot cause you to not have PMDD before, but then you get with them and you have PMDD. It can make your symptoms show up where they're more visible, where they're more noticeable. And I've had that happen where I've been with some partners and I really didn't suffer as much with my PMDD. And so I would talk to my friends and they would, just be talking to me normal all month long. And then when I was with certain partners that weren't aligned with my luteal phase, again, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with them. They just were not aligned with my luteal phase, meaning how I am in PMDD. Then it caused more stress within my relationship. It caused us to have more triggers for the both of us. And so it caused my PMDD symptoms to be absolutely worse. Whenever there is conflict and there is fighting and there is stress and there is all of these things where you're not on the same page, your PMDD symptoms are going to be worse. But that is why they are worse. They're worse because you have a lot of stress, a lot of fights, a lot of arguments within your relationship. So what I do with my private clients is the reason why their PMDD symptoms get better, meaning they don't experience them as much, is I eliminate the stress, the arguing, the fighting, the cyclical fights, the cyclical ways of not getting your needs met every single month within your relationship. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh my gosh, my symptoms are so much better. Yeah, your symptoms are better because you don't have all of that crap that needs to be dealt with just sitting there waiting for PMDD to use it. PMDD will literally use whatever, it rips the blanket off of whatever issues that you have with your partner. It doesn't allow you to ignore them. It doesn't allow you to pretend like you don't have them. It doesn't allow you to brush over them. It forces you to address them. And a lot of times the damage is done is because you're addressing them them when you're in that stressful state, when you're in that state where you're suffering with PMDD and you're feeling frustrated and you're feeling overwhelmed and you don't really have the tools of what you can do about it. So it's just you're going off of, instinct. And instinct says to yell, to fight, to think that your partner's the enemy, to blame them for everything that's going on in the relationship, to, let them know how they're causing you to suffer even worse. Like this is the default in PMDD relationships. And this is where a lot of the damage is done. And so what I do is I come in and I really just address one by one the issues that you're having with your partner and we work through them. And it takes time. But I would say to you, if you've not started that process of really working on what are the real issues, what is the core, what is the root, not what PMDD, is bringing up for you, because a lot of times PMDD will just bring up surface level things. It'll say, oh, my partner's not supportive, right? What does that mean? What does that look like? This is what I'm always asking. We go really deep into what does that look like? Because when you're really surface level and you're just yelling at your partner or nagging your partner and complaining to your partner that they're not being supportive, they don't know what that means. They don't know what that looks like. And so it just makes them more frustrated because they're probably trying to support you in their own way, but it's just not landing with you because they're not really understanding exactly what it is that you need. And a lot of times when we're in PMDD, we don't know what we need all the time. We just know that maybe our partner's not doing it. Like, I don't know what I need, but I know what I need. You're not giving me. And that really doesn't help the partner to give you what you need because there's a lack of clarity. When there's clarity, there's going to be chaos and confusion and frustration and overwhelmed and all of these things that we just don't want to feel while we're already suffering in PMDD. So what I do with my private clients is we address the problem, we expose it. That is the benefit of having someone who can come in and guide you through exposing the issues that you have so that they don't become exposed in PMDD, right? Because remember, I told you earlier, they're going to get exposed in PMDD. It's just the way that they get exposed. It's better if they get exposed in a way where you're ready to deal with them, where you have someone that can navigate, how to address these issues in a way that's actually going to bring you the results. It's going to give you that result, that, peace that you want within your PMDD relationship. It's not just yelling at your partner and saying you don't like something and that's it. Telling your partner what you don't like doesn't give them the tools of how to give you what it is that you want and you need in the relationship. All they know is just that you're not satisfied. And your partner knowing that you're not satisfied doesn't give them the tools and the guide of what to do to make you satisfied within the relationship. So they get even more frustrated and then they pull back or they lash out or they get defensive or they start criticizing you. And that's the pattern that we see with a lot of these PMDD breakups is criticism leads to defensiveness, leads to the breakups because now you're isolating yourselves and you're feeling like your partner's the enemy. So the tools that I'm going to give you today is really going to help you take responsibility and ownership for your premenstrual dysphoric disorder, for your PMDD, so that you can get the support from your partner that you need. If you're always thinking that everything is your partner's fault, everything is their fault, it's all their fault, it's all them, then you're putting your emotional and your mental health in the hands of your partner because you're basically saying, unless my partner gives me what I need, then I'm going to continue to suffer in PMDD. So one of the things that I really had to do earlier in my journey is take full responsibility of the state that I'm in at any given moment when I'm in PMDD. I don't blame it on my partner. I don't blame it on what they did, what they said, because ultimately I have a choice as to how I react to everything that my partner says and does. That's my responsibility. It's not my partner's responsibility to navigate and manage my emotions. That's my responsibility. It's their responsibility to navigate and manage their emotions when I get into PMDD. And so when you really take ownership of that, there's a lot that goes into that. Um, but what I will say is you get the freedom of getting the tools that you need to navigate PMDD and to manage yourself without expecting your partner to give it to you. I think there's so much pressure that you can put on your partner when you say, I need you to do this in order for me to be okay. If you're in the mindset of, I'm only okay if you do these things, that's a dangerous place to be. I've been there before and I never want to be there again. I never want to be in a place of feeling like my mental and emotional state was so dependent on my partner that unless they showed up as a specific way, then I wasn't going to be okay. Because I was giving away my freedom. I was giving away my ability to navigate and to manage how I wanted to feel. And so the first thing that I want you to understand is when you are blaming your partner for your anxiety, when you're blaming your partner for your depression, when you're blaming your partner for your fatigue, when you're going down the list of symptoms that you're having in your PMDD relationship and you're saying you're the problem, then you have to just wait on them. And right, so number one, when you're blaming them, they're not responding to you and saying, oh, I'm the problem. Okay, let me help you. They're getting defensive. They're causing more stress in the relationship because you're blaming them. So don't put your emotional and mental health in the hands of your partner. Don't put everything in the hands of your partner, expecting them to fix you. It's not your PMDD partner's job to fix you. It's not their responsibility. It's like I think about with my childhood trauma. For years and years and years, when I was growing up, and for those of you who don't know my history, I was in foster care from the age of 3. My both of my biological mom and dad, gave me up for put me in foster care, and then I was adopted at the age of 5. And then within my adopted home, I was mentally, physically, emotionally abused. And so, if you really think about it, I was abandoned and neglected by my biological family. And then with my adopted family, I was abused. So, I spent years in that mindset of they need to apologize to me. They need to make it better for me. They pretty much caused me to have all of these attachment issues, these abandonment issues, these feelings of neglect. And when I was going into relationships in my 20s, I remember feeling like I can't be better in relationships until my family apologizes to me for what they did. I thought it was so selfish to just go off and live their own lives and just pretend like they didn't have a child. And I remember one day, my biological mom said to me, she was yelling on the phone to me, and she was saying, I don't owe you anything. And I remember thinking that was the worst thing that she could have ever said to me, because in my mind, she did owe me something. She wasn't able to be a good mom to me when I was a child, and I was consistently giving her the opportunity to be a good mom to me when I was in my 20s. When I was as an adult, I would continuously, open the door for her to be supportive, to be loving, to be open, and all of these things. And she never showed up for me in that way. She never did it. And I remember even having my daughter and thinking to myself, how could you abandon your child? Like, I couldn't wrap my head around it because I knew how I felt about my daughter. And I knew that even in the midst of whatever suffering that I was going through, I would never leave my child. And so I wanted my mom to make it better. I wanted my dad to make it better. I did the same thing for my biological dad. He was in prison when I was growing up. And when he got out of prison, I pretty much, contacted him and said, hey, I'm here and let's establish this relationship like you said that you were going to do all of these years. And he lived his life. He was doing exactly what my biological mom was doing. They were living their life. They weren't feeling like they owed me anything and they had to make anything up to me. But I was consistently looking for that. And then one day when she said that comment to me, and it hit me like a ton of bricks, it's almost like she slapped me in the face, and she was pretty much like, stop looking for me to give you something. I don't owe you anything. I'm never going to give you what it is that you're wanting and needing. And so I thought to myself, oh my gosh, if my mom is not going to heal me from my childhood trauma, that comment it freed me up. It allowed me to start doing the work on myself, because I said, well, if she doesn't feel like she owes me anything, and if she's not going to fix me, then it's my responsibility to fix myself. But it took me years of waiting and begging and just, nagging and putting myself in situations to where I'm like pretty much opening the door for her, giving her the blueprint. Like, this is how you be a good mom to me. And she had no interest in doing that. No interest in doing that. And it was like I was putting on those blinders and pretending like what the crumbs that she was giving me was enough. And it wasn't. It was times where I would go to the store. You know how you go for Mother's Day and you open up the cards and it's like, you've always been there for me. And I would have to close the card because she wasn't always there for me. Or, when I was growing up, you did this and I have to close the card. Like, it was so hard for me to buy Mother's Day cards or Father's Day cards because my parents were never there. Um, and so when she said that to me, I don't owe you anything. It was freedom for me. It hurt worse than anything I could ever imagine. Because it felt like once again, I was this little girl waiting to be picked up by their mommy, and someone slammed the door in my face. And so that was the turning point for me in my 20s to start working on my childhood trauma. And that's when I said to myself, my childhood trauma is not my fault. I didn't ask to be born into this family, but it is my responsibility to heal. And that's the same mentality that I have with my PMDD. And that's the same mentality that I tell to my clients, because until you really wrap your head around that, you will never start to heal your PMDD. And still, until you say, PMDD is not my fault, but it's my responsibility to manage, not my partner's. It's my responsibility because all of us, nobody asked to have premenstrual dysphoric disorder. Nobody asked for this. But you can't go around operating in life saying, I didn't ask for this. I didn't ask for this. So now everybody around me, I feel entitled for everybody around me to have to change the way that they approach me, change the way that they deal with me because I have PMDD. It's not their fault and it's not your fault, but you're the one that has it. So it's your responsibility. And one of the things that you can do to really damage having a relationship with a partner is putting that weight on them, putting that weight and that responsibility on them to shift and change who they are, how they are with you because of your PMDD. If your partner has ADHD, ADD, OCD, PTSD, it's their job to manage it. It is not your job to fix them. That's a very codependent mindset that you would have to say, oh my gosh, my partner has PTSD. I need to heal them. No, you don't. You need to support them in their own healing. You need to support them in them doing something to heal or to help make it 10% better. When my clients come to me and they say, I can only start sessions with you, Dr. Rose, when my partner's ready, or when my partner wants to come to sessions, I can start sessions with you. No, you're the one that has premenstrual dysphoric disorder. You're the one that has it. You don't need to wait for your partner. You don't need to wait for this magic day that your partner says, I'm ready for you to get help with your PMDD. What are you doing for your PMDD? You have premenstrual dysphoric disorder. And I would say the same thing, because I have a lot of clients that I deal with trauma. And I would say this to a client, you have PTSD. So it is your job to take the first steps to manage it. You do not have to wait for your partner. Just because you're in an intimate relationship doesn't mean you have to wait for your partner in order to get help. That's a codependent mindset because you're feeling like you can't make yourself better unless your partner is willing to join in on the sessions. No, have individual sessions and start learning tools that are going to help your premenstrual dysphoric disorder, and your relationship will get better by you taking the first step. And I would say the same thing to your partner if they had PTSD or OCD or autism or ADHD. I wouldn't say both of you need to be getting help with it in order for it to work. Whoever has the disorder, whoever has the disease is the one that takes the medicine. If I have a cold and my partner doesn't have a cold, I don't go to the pharmacy and look at the prescription and say, okay, I need both of us to take my medicine. I'm the one that's sick. So I would be the one to take the medicine. My partner can hand me the medicine. My partner can remind me when to take the medicine, but they don't have to take the medicine if they're not the ones that are sick. Think of that like with your relationship with your PMDD partner. They're not the ones that have PMDD. Does it affect them when you go into PMDD? Absolutely. But do they need to actually take the medicine? No, they don't. Because your relationship will get better. Your sickness will get better. If they're taking care of you, if they're being a caregiver to you when you're sick and you have the flu and you start taking the medicine, the way that they are interacting with you will improve as you get better by taking the medicine. Meaning, when you're coming to private sessions with me and you're getting tools, your relationship is going to get better with your partner because you're getting the tools that are making your PMDD better, that are making your intrusive thoughts be more manageable, that I'm able to rewire your PMDD brain, that I'm able to help you with the overthinking that you're having with your PMDD partner, that I'm able to help you with the anxiety that you're feeling, that I'm able to help you with your attachment styles of wanting more space in your relationship, where I'm able to help you with the communication of communicating what you need to your PMDD partner in a way that they understand it and actually want to help you and not resent helping you because it's taking so much away from them because they're not getting their needs met. Right? These are the things that I help you with in the private sessions, and you don't have to wait for your partner to be on board. I know a lot of times when couples are going through things, they say we need to go to couples therapy, but this is why having PMDD is so strategic, and the tools that I give are so strategic because I'm not just giving you tools for couples counseling. I'm not just giving you tools for couples therapy. I'm giving you tools that are specifically related to the cyclical nature of premenstrual dysphoric disorder. And that's one of you. Okay. I only have a couple clients where both of them have PMDD. So most likely it's one partner that has PMDD and I maybe counsel the other partner who has PTSD, right? I'm a trauma psychologist. So therefore, if your partner has a separate disorder that is impacting the relationship, I can counsel them separately and then we can have joint sessions together on how to navigate and use the tools. So a lot of my packages are I have private sessions with one client for whatever the things that they have going on. I have private sessions with the other partner with whatever they have going on. And I develop tools that work for the both of you. And then we come together and I teach you how to implement those tools and do it on rinse and repeat where you can use them every single month. And it doesn't take long, but one of you has to get started. Like you cannot just wait for the other person. Again, that is a very codependent mentality to where you're waiting to get help for something that is genuinely impacting you mentally, emotionally, and physically on a monthly basis. And you're not getting help for it because your partner's not ready. They may not be at a point where they're ready, but if you take the first step, your relationship is going to improve and maybe you're opening the door for them to get ready. Maybe one of you has to get started first, right? It's like when both of you are sick or one of you is sick, somebody says, "Babe, you need to go to the doctor." Just like you wouldn't hesitate to go to the doctor if you had the cold, the flu, all of these physical symptoms, if you had a rash or something. You wouldn't wait for your partner to go to the doctor with you if you had this outbreak and you're breaking out with a rash and hives. Like you're not going to say, "Oh, until my partner takes me to the doctor, I'm just going to let this rash continue to spread." When it hurts you, when it's uncomfortable enough for you, you take your butt to the doctor. I've been there before where I was traveling from Washington, D.C. all the way to California when I moved here back in 2022. And I had some breakout on my skin and I was mortified. And I remember stopping in the middle of that 10-day trip and rushing to the doctor. I didn't say when I see my partner in California, I'm gonna go to the doctor. I didn't wait till I saw my partner to go to the doctor. It was something that was impacting me. So I went to the doctor to get help with it. You need to think of your premenstrual dysphoric disorder the same way. You need to think of your PMDD the same way. This is impacting me. This is causing me to suffer. I'm gonna go get help. I'm gonna go, get those sessions with Dr. Rose because it's making my life miserable. Why would you live your life miserable when there are tools that can actually help you? I could see if you're like, I don't know what to do. There's nothing that I can do. All of these things. That's how I was when I was growing up with having PMDD and I was having all of these issues in my relationship. With PMDD, the mental aspect is the mental and emotional aspect are the things that cause me the most suffering. Do I have fatigue? Yes. Do I have the body aches? Do I have all of these other physical symptoms, the bloating? Yes, but those are pretty much, they don't impact me as much as the overthinking, as much as the anxiety, as much as the depression, as much as those are the things where I'm like, listen, I can't wait. I need to go get help for this right now. And that's why I'm here. And that's why I've developed PMDD specific tools. So if you're at this place where you're saying, I'm miserable every single month with trying to navigate my symptoms, go to inlovewithpmdd.com and get those counseling sessions. What are you waiting for? And I hope it's not your partner. I really, really hope it's not your partner because I guarantee you they're going to thank you when you start to feel better within your PMDD because you got help. And so I'm going to talk to you about some of the common ways that PMDD sufferers really blame their partner for their symptoms, and it cripples them because then you both end up suffering. Like I said, because you end up in that cycle of blaming, shaming, the criticism, and then the defensiveness, and then the fights, and then the breakup. Okay. So the first thing that a lot of times that the PMDD sufferers say is, you don't understand what I'm going through. I've heard this so many times. It's like, you don't understand what I'm going through. You don't understand how bad PMDD is. Individuals with PMDD feel really misunderstood and they feel like their partner isn't giving them the level of empathy that they need within the relationship. So when they get frustrated and they get overwhelmed, they say, you don't get it. You don't get it. And so it's the perception that their partner doesn't understand how bad PMDD is. They kind of feel like their partner is minimizing it and kind of brushing it over and feeling like, you should just be able to suck it up. So you're blaming them for your PMDD by telling them you just don't understand what I'm going through. That's number one. Number two is you may say statements to your partner like, you're just making things worse. You're making my PMDD symptoms worse. So you're blaming your partner for exasperating your PMDD symptoms. So your partner's actions, whether they're intentional or not intentional, like they forgot to do something that they said that they were going to do, and all of a sudden you're biting their head off because you're saying the only reason that I'm frustrated in PMDD, the only reason I'm suffering so much is in PMDD is because of you. If you wouldn't have forgot to bring home the lemons, I wouldn't be suffering in PMDD like this. And it's like you're not giving your partner any room to be a human and make mistakes. Or, your partner makes a comment and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, you're making my symptoms worse because of that comment that you made. You're so insensitive. So now because you made that comment, now I'm suffering in PMDD. Because that comment made you feel triggered, made you feel unsupported, made you feel unloved, you're now blaming your partner for having PMDD symptoms. I would be fine if you hadn't have said that, if you hadn't have forgotten to bring home the lemons. Now your partner is going to feel like they're a piece of crap and you're demonizing them. You're not giving them any room to make human mistakes because you're basically saying, I wouldn't be suffering in PMDD if it wasn't for you. So the next thing that can happen is you say things like, you don't really care about me. So during PMDD, you have this emotional sensitivity that is really, really heightened, right? So when this is heightened, when you have this rejection sensitivity, this emotional sensitivity, you're going to feel unloved, you're going to feel unimportant, you're going to feel abandoned, you're going to feel unsupported. And so even if your partner is there, even if they haven't left you, you're going to interpret them moving over on the couch as rejecting you. You're going to interpret them sleeping and not cuddling with you as not loving you. You're going to interpret them taking space or being busy as abandoning you or rejecting you. You're going to take them doing things that they normally do on a day-to-day basis as them not wanting to show affection to you. You're going to start to misinterpret all of these things and say, you don't really care about me. And then you're going to feel like because you're feeling that way, they're causing you to have, heightened PMDD symptoms. So number 4 is you're not helping enough. You're not helping me enough. So PMDD can make simple tasks that you do very overwhelming, very stressful. Just day-to-day chores makes it very, very stressful. And now all of a sudden, you as a PMDD sufferer, you're blaming your partner for not picking up enough slack around the house or not picking up enough slack with the kids. So even if the partner is trying to help, the perception during PMDD is that they're not doing enough. You're not being supportive. You're not helping me. I do everything by myself. If I'm doing everything by myself, I just might as well be single. This is what's leading to the PMDD monthly breakups, because now you're feeling resentful for all of the things that you're doing to contribute to the relationship, to contribute to the household. You're blaming them for every single thing that they're doing. And if these are things that you're actually saying to your partner, I have a guide that is really going to help you. And it's going to be in the show notes. And I'm going to give you a way to rewire your PMDD brain with every single mantra that we're using here of things that you're actually saying. I'm going to show you how to rewire it as if we were in a private session together. So if you're at this place and you're like, Dr. Rose, I don't have, I'm not having a private sessions with you. I'm not your private client, but this is something that I really need help with. I'm going to give you the link to the guide that you can just purchase in the show notes to really help you if this is something where you're saying, Dr. Rose, I say these things about my partner. I say these things to my partner, and I really need help with this. So number 5 is you should know what I need without me telling you. I shouldn't have to tell you every single month what it is that I'm going through. I shouldn't have to tell you the way that I'm supportive. You should be able to just see in the gaps of what it is that I need, and you should just know. So when you're really feeling overwhelmed in PMDD, you may start to feel like your partner should just anticipate your needs or be able to read your moods, or they should know me. They've been with me for 5 years, 10 years, 4 years, 3 years, 2 months. You're taking the time frame that you've been with your partner and saying, you should just know what it is that I need. And the fact that I have to tell you is annoying. So this can lead to you feeling neglected and loved, and that's worsening your PMDD, symptoms. So the next thing you could say to your partner is, you're the reason I'm so stressed. Because stress levels are so high, your cortisol levels are so high when you're in PMDD, everyday stressors that you may have are more intense, but you may start to blame your partner for their contributions, because you may think, I can handle the kids, I can handle work, I can handle the chores, but what I can't handle is the issues within this relationship. So you're the one that's causing me to be so stressed in PMDD, even though you have all of these other stressors that are really contributing to your PMDD symptoms. You're blaming your partner for having stress in your relationship. The next way that you can, really blame your partner is saying things like, you always say the wrong thing. You never know what to really say in PMDD. So this leads to the irritability and the emotional sensitivity, because one of the most harmful things that can happen in PMDD is hurtful words. And so when your partner says something that is hurtful to you, whether they did it intentionally or unintentionally, this can lead to you accusing your partner to say things that upset you, that trigger you. Even when the comments may not be meant like that, even if your partner didn't intentionally say things like that, you may start to say that my PMDD symptoms are worse because I'm always dealing with you saying these hurtful comments to me. And if I didn't have to deal with the emotional, reactions of feeling unloved and unsupported, then my symptoms would be better. The next thing that can happen is you may say to your partner, you never listen to me. You never listen to me. So there's a lot of communication breakdowns that happen during PMDD. They're really common. You're misinterpreting what your partner is saying. You're reading into things that they're saying. They're feeling like they can't say anything. They're feeling like they're walking on eggshells because every single thing that they say is being misinterpreted into something else. This can lead to you having this heightened emotional state that can lead to you actually believing that, your partner's your enemy. Your partner's trying to hurt you. So when you're saying you never listen to me, you're feeling like you're being dismissed. Like, I'm trying to tell you how I'm feeling in PMDD and you're not getting it. So if your partner says things like, oh, babe, I'm sorry you feel that way, you may feel like that's not enough. Like, you need more from them until they say the things that you actually want them to say, then it's not going to be good enough for you. So another thing that you can say to your partner is, you're too focused on yourself. So you may feel like your partner is being selfish or preoccupied with their own needs. Maybe they're stressed out at work and they're taking time to spend time with their friends, or they're doing things that are making them feel better. And you may feel like because the attention is not on you, that that's a problem. So this perception, it stems from you feeling emotionally overwhelmed and you're really needing that extra support. And instead of asking for your partner to give you that emotional support in a healthy way, you're blaming them because they're not doing it. And so then they get defensive and then they start, isolating from you. And then that can lead you to feeling rejected and feeling ignored. And the next reason that you can really blame your PMDD partner for your symptoms is you could say things like, you're the reason I'm so triggered. You're the reason I go off on PMDD rage. So PMDD rage can feel like really intense and overwhelming. And you can say, I only go off on PMDD rage because of the anger and the triggers that I have towards you. So small disagreements and minor irritations that wouldn't normally cause tension or wouldn't normally cause a problem in your relationship, they get blown out of proportion during PMDD. And then you blame your partner for triggering you. And so when you're saying these comments to your partner, it is going to absolutely cause them to start criticizing you and say, well, what about you? What are you doing? Or what about you? You're doing this in PMDD, or you're like, they're going to start to blame you because they're going to get defensive. And again, criticism, which is all of these comments that are just made, mixed with defensiveness, leads to the fights, to the arguments, and then to the breakups. So if this is something that you're saying, Dr. Rose, these are comments that I've actually made with my partner, and I'm in this place where I'm really needing to get the tools on what I can do to stop making these comments, to stop doing damage into the relationship, go in the show notes and get the guide that's really going to help you rewire your PMDD brain from blaming your PMDD partner to actually getting the support that you need from them, even though you're having these thoughts. So it's nothing wrong with thinking these things, but it's something wrong with saying them and then causing damage within your PMDD relationship. I've been there so many times. Saying these comments are absolutely blaming them for your PMDD symptoms is only going to make your PMDD symptoms worse, because it's going to make your partner get defensive. And again, criticism, defensiveness leads to those PMDD monthly breakups. This is something you know that you need help with. Then you have two options. You can get the guide that are in the show notes or at www.inlovewithpmdd.com, or you can go to my website, inlovewithpmdd.com, and get those counseling sessions where I can customize everything for what is specifically going on with you and your PMDD relationship. So until next time, we got this. Love you. I hope this PMDD episode helped you and your partner in your struggles within your relationship. And if this is something that you know that you need help with and you need further support, individualized support, make sure you're going to inlovewithpmdd.com and you're getting those private sessions to really work through what you're going through in your relationship, specifically in regards to PMDD. And also, I want you to leave a 5-star written review on Apple Podcasts. What this does is it helps other PMDD sufferers and partners find this show that can help them get these free PMDD relationship tools. I remember what it felt like to not know that there were tools out there specifically for PMDD relationships. So I want to make sure that you are sharing these tools with others, share them on your social media, share them with people that you know that are also struggling in their PMDD relationships. Until next episode, this is Dr. Rose, your PMDD relationship psychotraumatologist. One more thing, I almost forgot. I now have the Fresh Start PMDD Partners Workbook. What this workbook can do is, if you've had past traumatic experiences with your partner, past fights, past arguments, and they keep coming up every single month in PMDD, I created a Fresh Start Workbook so that you can deal with all of the traumatic experiences that have happened in the past in PMDD rage and all of these things, so you can stop going through the same cycle again and again and again. So get that workbook. It comes with a video episode of the actual podcast that I recorded on getting a fresh start in your PMDD relationship, so you're not continuing the same cycle again and again and again. So make sure that you get that workbook. And if you need those individualized counseling sessions, you know where to go, inlovewithpmdd.com. Until next time, we got this. Love you.